I, 26F, feel misled by my fiancé, 26M, regarding his past relationship. How do I deal with it? Should I accept his apology and move on? I, 26F, got engaged to my fiancé, 26M, close to 2 months ago. We had been together for a bit over a year, the majority of which we spent long distance as he lives in a different country. Update: we spent 3 months getting to know each other on proper dates on an almost daily basis before going long distance, and he came back to the country due to COVID for a couple of months prior to our engagement in August. As context, we mesh very well together and have barely even had an argument over the course of our relationship. He vehemently chased me with very kind and romantic gestures, even though I am more guarded and not as expressive. I have been very trusting of him throughout our relationship, and he has not shown me any reason to displace his trust. To the contrary, he has been very transparent, kind, loving and romantic. When we discussed our past relationships, he told me that he only had one serious relationship, for 2 years, with a girl in his country when he was at university. He characterized her as having been obsessed with him. He is admittedly very attractive and successful, and pressurizing him into the relationship. She was from a different culture that his parents, which his parents would never have approved her. However, he said that he left her as he never really cared for her, disliked many aspects of her personality, and never saw a future with her, causing him to leave her for reasons other than his parental approval. He also told me that he informed his father of her after they broke up, once again emphasizing that he left her for reasons of his own. He often writes me love poems and, voluntarily, stated that he has never written a poem for anyone before. He also told me that after they broke up, she excessively followed him, sent him threats, would sleep outside the door of his house, etc., which led to him wanting to get a restraining order. Accordingly, he consistently called her crazy and creepy. I never asked for details of the relationship, any more than the information that he would volunteer every once in a while, which was all negative. For my part, I disclosed the entirety of my dating history and told him that I have never had a serious relationship before. I spoke to him extensively about the guy I dated before him and gave him the full picture, good and bad. Fast forward to our engagement, we had been very private about our relationship, mostly because I do not like publicizing relationships or being public on social media. After he insisted, a few weeks ago, we each posted pictures of our engagement on our Instagram accounts as our first announcement. He did not tag me in his picture because he didn't want me to receive messages from his followers. We discussed various reactions to our post, looking through likes, mentioning reactions of people we had dated, talking about the reactions of relatives, etc. A few days ago, we both got silly and we're talking. He started talking about his ex. For the first time, it was in a positive light. He started saying how she wanted him to be the best version of himself, she made him who he is today, she was so sweet, etc. He also said that he approached his parents about her to see their reaction, which directly contradicted his earlier statements. Then, he mentions that she sent him a message forwarded through a friend of hers, as he has her blocked, immediately after our engagement post, cussing him out and said that she'd punch me if she ever sees me when I move to his country. I asked him why he didn't tell me about the message. We had been seeing each other every single day for the past month and had extensive conversations about exes and reactions. I then asked him to show me the message. He said he blocked her friend, but I told him that should not delete the message. He then told me to look through his phone if I didn't believe him. I told him I don't want to look through his phone, I just want him to pull up the message. He then forced his phone into my hand and told me to look through. He wouldn't take it back when I tried to give it back, so eventually I asked who I am supposed to be searching for. When I found the name, there was no message, so I just gave him back the phone. He then lost his temper, called me crazy for looking through his phone. When I told him not to use that word and that I did not look through his phone, he said he liked crazy and that crazy turned him on. I pulled away when he tried to hug me after that, so he got up and just left my house. Before storming out, he turned it into me being insecure and saying how he chose me and that he only wrote her one poem. whereas he has written me over 40 poems in the space of a shorter period. Also contradicting what he said before. I also noticed other minor contradictions between what he told me when we first started dating and what he says now about other girls that he has dated. This is my first serious relationship and he has generally been amazing to me. He is thoughtful about everything that I say, goes out of his way to be nice to me and my family, welcomed me into his family, writes me poetry every week, buys me gifts constantly, opens the door for me every chance that he gets, etc. I am generally much more guarded that he is and not expressive about my emotions. He was very patient with me and never made me feel bad about that. A few months ago, when we spent a lot of time together in the same country, after we made engagement arrangements, he proposed, but the arrangements are made through families in our culture. I felt like a subconscious guard was lifted and I was able to fully open up to him because I could properly trust him. That is why these contradictions hurt me, as I feel like the very foundation of what helped me open up is being pulled out from under me if he could so easily mislead me for a year. When contradictory information, such as the fact that he approached his parents about marrying this girl from a different culture, is revealed to me, it feels like that was purposefully covered up. We had a long and emotional fight about it all, our first real fight. I told him that I do not care about his past, but what I care about is how he represents the past to me. He admitted that he was very wrong in giving me a false impression, but that his relationship was too toxic and difficult to discuss. I told him that this statement would have been enough for me 1 year ago, as I would not have pried or asked any further questions. I had not asked any questions throughout the year. Instead, I let him tell me what he was comfortable with. He told me that he fell in love at first sight and that he never thought a girl like me would have existed in his culture, which he mentioned before, so he wanted to do everything possible to make me fall in love with him to feel 1/10 of what he felt towards me. I appreciated that, and I do feel like it was true based on our history, but I still have a problem with feeling misled. I obviously understand not wanting to reveal intense details about a past relationship at the start of dating someone, but my problem is the needless lying about certain details. I told him that there was no need to mention details of the past relationship at all if he was not ready to open up at the start of our relationship. It would have been better than drawing a picture of him not being interested in someone he once considered marrying. Even after he apologized countless times, admitted he was wrong for making misrepresentations as well his reaction of calling me crazy, I still feel very upset and I feel like the subconscious guard in my head that stopped me from getting close to him or others in the past is back up. I do not know how to deal with this. I have barely spoken to him in 2 days, after usually seeing him on a daily basis, and I do not feel as comfortable with him as I once was, despite him being genuinely kind to me and me loving him. This is my first real relationship fight, so my questions are, is it normal to feel this way after a big fight? How do I move on from this? Should I accept his apology and move on? Is it wrong to keep holding this over his head despite his apology? Also, he has not sent me the message from his ex that he promised that he would send me. Should I be insisting to see it? Too long, didn't read. My fiancé spent over a year describing his only ex-girlfriend as crazy, said that he left her because he never cared for her irrespective of the fact that his family would not have approved of her. Yet, now he switched the narrative to reveal contradictory facts and failed to show me a recent message she sent him after we made our engagement public. He apologized and admitted that he was wrong, but I still feel misled. Do I accept his apology and move on? And is it wrong to insist on seeing a recent message from his ex regarding our engagement? Update, to clarify, we're from an Arab country. But this is not an arranged marriage. We dated for 3 full months, seeing each other on a daily basis, before our relationship became long distance. He visited me every 2 months since. Due to COVID, he came back in June and I have seen him on an almost daily basis since June and prior to our engagement in August. So, it is not a question of an arranged marriage. We dated, spoke a lot, and got to know each other well. Update, to everyone describing him as a narcissist, I do not know much about it, but he does not seem to have some basic narcissistic qualities. I have seen him in interpersonal conflicts before, with his father and his sister, and he always owns up to his own mistakes and faults, never mistreating them. Also, he goes out of his way to help people, such as his own sister, in various circumstances, despite me knowing that it inconvenienced him, which is why I was not suspicious of his kindness and affection towards me, even though it did come off strong.
Hey guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me out, thanks.
You're not gonna like hearing this, but marrying this guy would be a huge mistake. Your fiancé is very good at romancing you, the gifts, the poetry, etc., but that does not mean he is a good person. The fact that he lied to you about his ex is evidence of him being untrustworthy. And that whole "I'll force you to go through my phone, no, you're the crazy one," is just weird and pushy. You should really be cautious about moving forward with this relationship. It seems that you like him for the things that he does for you and not his actual character, which is incredibly alarming. Don't sign your life away to a controlling, pushy man just because he showers you with nice things. Have you heard of love bombing? Showering you with adoration, putting you on a pedestal, those behaviors can exist within a cycle of mistreatment. I just found out that my girlfriend, F25, has hacked several of my, M25, social media accounts. I want to start this with saying that I love my girlfriend and that we have a pretty great relationship. I've never had any complaints about her until now. I've basically felt like I hit the jackpot, being so average myself but being able to attract and keep such a special girl. She's insanely attractive, and if I tried my best I'd be a 7. She's smart and also exceptionally kind. We've been together 6 months, but I've already started making plans to buy a ring. But now, she's gone ahead and done something incredibly odd. I noticed that an odd amount of my emails were going directly to spam on my Gmail account. I tried to look into why, and there was a filter that I didn't put on my Gmail settings. Up until that point I was puzzled for months and months about how I was missing emails. Generally things from people came through just fine, but that were automated in any capacity went to my spam folder. It figured Google had accidentally flagged things as spam, but yesterday I googled it and found that you can make things go directly to spam if they're from certain people or contain certain phrases. When I found this filter, it immediately occurred to me that my Gmail had been compromised for some time. I changed all my passwords immediately and it took several hours. I looked under recent activity to see if there were any suspicious sign-ins, and I couldn't find any at bizarre IP addresses, and I couldn't find any off phones or devices signed in. I could immediately sense a change in my girlfriend. She seemed suddenly interested in seeing my phone, but passively so, like asking for my phone to take pictures when hers was within reach, that sort of thing. I got suspicious. I lied to her a little bit. I told her that my Gmail had been hacked and I knew it was her. I acted upset, but I was bluffing. I didn't know it was her. I fully planned to apologize and ask her to help me think of what could have happened. But she confessed fairly easily and I froze up. I asked her how long she's been doing this. She told me that she's done it before we even got together. Apparently she guessed passwords to an old Hotmail account of mine which has served as a backup email for a lot, but that Hotmail account did not have two-factor authentication itself. From there she was able to access several social media accounts and eventually my Gmail. The filter was out into place just in case I received an email confirmation for factor authentication from a website she signed into. She has been on my Twitter, Gmail, Facebook, and Instagram, and a few other minor things. I had no idea she would confess to so much without much pressing. She seemed remorseful and cried and told me she knew it was wrong and apologized. I asked her why she did it once she calmed down a bit. She told me that initially, she did it because she was curious about me and had a crush. She followed my social media for a bit and says she felt she was someone she could trust based on the contents. I expected her to say that she wanted to make sure I wasn't cheating because at least I can relate to that. I frankly still haven't processed this. What boggles my mind is that there's no specific reason for it. This doesn't make sense to me. It seems just like morbid curiosity. I know that she has invaded my privacy. I know she's disregarded it. But I also feel like there wasn't malice behind it either. I believe that she was curious and didn't mean harm. I don't even think she used it for anything selfish as far as I can tell. A lot of what she used it for was to learn what my interests were, to have something to say to me when we were first getting to know each other. She learned about my favorite hockey team, and my favorite TV shows. I won't lie. Part of me feels flattered at that. I've never had someone care so much about trying to impress me. But it's wrong, isn't it? It's crazy that a person would be so methodological and strategic about this. She could have just asked me about anything. She went out of her way to hide the fact that she was doing it, hence the filters. I have nothing to hide from her. Part of me feels like no real damage has been done, and that I should make sure she knows it's unacceptable and then put it behind us. But another part is just really confused, more than I've even been in my life. What do I do? Too long didn't read. My girlfriend hacked several of my social media accounts. I feel very weird about this but don't know what to do with the information. If you weren't attracted to her, this would be called excessively following. There's something missing with someone who does things like this. What most people would do with this information is be gone. It's a gross violation of privacy and trust. And if this girl weren't so hot, you know you'd be out of there. If you think this is the end of this pattern of behavior, think again, with your brain. You know that she sounds so perfect for you because she doesn't says all the right things to you. And she knows how to do that because she has read all your private emails and probably texts, so she knows a lot about you, probably things she's not supposed to know. She can manipulate you very easily because she knows so much. For me, that would be the end of the relationship.